Our next panel discussion will explore the MedTech support ecosystem at the College of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, including the clinical trials infrastructure, the Health Innovation Hub and the university ecosystem. I'd now like to introduce you all to Dr. Aideen O'Doherty, Programme Manager at the Clinical Research Facility, Dr. Steven Griffin from Health Innovation Hub Ireland, Professor David Finn, Professor of Pharmacology and Therapeutics, and Dr. Leo Quinlan, Associate Professor in Physiology and Vice Dean, Teaching, Learning and Assessment. Thank you all very much now for joining us. And again, everybody's most welcome to, we have 2 microphones around the place, and you're all very welcome to participate in any question that you'd like at all. Aideen, maybe just to start with yourself first of all. Yeah, perfect. I was going to ask you, what supports are available in the university for anyone who'd like to take, the next step and conduct a clinical trial or study?
Sure. I represent the Clinical Research Facility, which is co-governed by the hospital and the university. So we, as the Clinical Research Facility, we can offer supports ourselves directly in terms of grant applications, help with regulatory pathways, identification of what funding lines would be required, and also assistance with ethical and the running of studies. Otherwise, within the Clinical Research Facility, we currently conduct a number of studies, and I'm very pleased to see a number of our collaborators here, both on stage and also in the audience, both today and yesterday. There are a number of other supports within the university and the hospital, and that includes entities like Hurum, the HRB-funded Trial Methodology Research Network, PPI Ignite, a number of clinical trial networks. There's a number of very informed clinical trialists in the university and in the hospital, and nationally as well there are supports available, including the HRB-funded National Clinical Trials Office. So there's a wealth of experience both locally and nationally in running clinical trials.
Thank you very much, Aideen. And David, to yourself then, what facilities and supports are available at the university for basic biomedical discovery research and for the translational research?
Yeah, so there's a whole suite of supports and facilities across the College of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences and across the wider university. Probably too comprehensive and exhaustive for me to try and list in full today, but I'd point people towards the Research Office website and the research kind of portal on the university website. Because that gives a nice summary of everything that's available. Just to try and summarize, I guess, in basic research labs across quite recently built buildings like the Human Biology Building, the Biosciences Building, the Lamb Institute, the Alice Perry Building, and others. And then there's excellent preclinical facilities for animal research across the university. There's good enabling technologies, platform technologies, such as imaging and microscopy, flow cytometry, mass spectrometry, genomics and drug screening. Then there's the whole bioinformatics, kind of data analytics and statistical support piece as well. There's actually a GMP-approved Centre for Cell Manufacturing at the university as well. And then obviously the clinical research facility that Aideen has just described as well. And also supports beyond that through the Technology Transfer Office, for example, around IP and innovation and translation.
Excellent. And Stephen, then when you're not doing these non-clinical trials, what other supports are there if you're not doing clinical trials?
Yeah, if you're not doing clinical trials and you're trying to develop a product or a solution to an unmet need in healthcare, and we heard some of the great startups earlier on, the Health Innovation Hub is a resource there for you to connect with those people, those experts, with the experience, I guess, working in healthcare, to give you kind of informed opinion on what it is you're trying to do. They can give you feedback on the need, as our president spoke about earlier, Marketing 101, find out about the need first of the problem, so you can engage with those people who know what the problem is, hear the voice of the customer, that sort of stuff. Then further to that, then if you have a prototype or a beta, or you want to maybe do some kind of the unregulated work around your regulatory requirements, such as design validation or human factor testing, again, focus groups, that sort of stuff. The Health Innovation Hub is a national entity to find those people that are best suited to meet your needs and give you the feedback in a very structured way. We put project agreements in place with everything that we're doing, so everybody knows their roles and responsibilities, at the end of which there's an independent report given that you as a promoter or a company or whatever can use that to take it forward, either to inform the design going forward or as a piece for traction, for showing, for maybe for sales or for marketing purposes. And finally, we also work with groups, entrepreneurs, companies who have products that are already on the market in other jurisdictions or that are authorised for use in healthcare here. And we would, again, find the clinical people at the clinical locations to run a pilot study. It's not a clinical trial, that's already complete, but to do a pilot study as a reference site to show that your product works as it's supposed to, where it should, and then again that's to try and again gain traction or have it adopted within the healthcare system.
Excellent. And Leo, maybe you'd be able to elaborate on how does an interaction with company begin when you're considering in vitro techniques?
Great, thanks, Steve. Well, I suppose the area that I work in is closer to single cells, to single individual molecules, and one of the technologies, I'll have to pick Dave up on this later, that he forgot to mention is that we just recently got a new platform technology around ion channel discovery, or drug discovery, but specifically on ion channels through an interaction with Alison Liddy and Barry McDermott at Relivium. So I suppose what it allows the companies to do is to take a flexible approach to trying to understand their technology. So very often they have a really cool technology that they understand what it does at a high level, at a macroscopic level, and what we provide is the flexibility to test out different iterations to try and explain what it does at a microscopic level.
And you're dealing then, Leo, I mean, you're looking really at pain research and how to help patients basically with problems with pain.
Sure, well, I do a little bit in pain. Dave is really more the expert in the pain, I would say. But we go across the spectrum of things. So Kevin gave a nice example of something that we've done recently, where more often than not, we're trying to keep cells alive or keep tissues alive. But there's a new kind of approach now to treating things like atrial fibrillation into cancer, which is called electroporation. So we're trying to kill things. So we use that to try and selectively target particular cells. And that also applies in pain, where we try to selectively target ion channels, which is the interaction we have with Alison and Barry, who also work with Dave on the translation of that then into an animal model, for example.
Dave, do you want to elaborate on that one? That whole area of
Pain?
Pain.
On a Friday afternoon.
We all suffer sometimes.
We want some pain on a Friday. Yeah, sure. No, it's an interest of mine. Chronic pain is a massive unmet clinical need. At least 20% of the population across Europe and the world suffer from chronic pain. About 70% of them say it's not adequately treated. So major unmet clinical need. And we've a lot going on there with the Centre for Pain Research here within the university. It's kind of embedded within a wider neuroscience centre initiative here across the university as well, and very much involved in Curram as well. And Curram has pain projects active as well. And through that, we've got good industry links and collaborations. We've got an interesting one ongoing at the moment with B. Braun. In wound pain and pain associated with chronic wounds, which is a collaboration between myself, Professor Abe Pandit, and Professor Georgina Gethin. So again, very much multidisciplinary, and we're training 3 PhD students on that project at the moment: Katie Healy, Maria Redmond, and Preetham Srinath. So that's exciting, and we're trying to develop novel preclinical models for studying pain associated with wounds, and we're also trying to develop the next generation of drug-eluting biomaterials-based approaches for treating wounds with a focus on cannabinoids, actually, as well. So lots going on there, and lots going on with Leo and Alison Liddy as well. And we've had collaborations with Alkermes and Covidian and Medtronic in the past as well in the area of pain and associated comorbidities like anxiety and depression as well.
And, of course, we're going to hear from Abe Pandit, of course, later on, just in a little while. But maybe just to finish up with yourself, Aideen, there, what are the features of a good trial? You know, is it early and engage clinicians, or are there other elements as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of elements to designing a good clinical trial. At the core of it, you want to stand over the protection of the rights, safety and privacy of trial participants and their data, protect the integrity of the data. There's no point having a trial that doesn't deliver appropriate and reliable data. So that's all guided by the principles of good clinical practice. And in good clinical practice, you need to have an engaged consultant or clinical principal investigator. You need to have an informed team. Education is key. I think it's important to recognise what you know, but also it's the iceberg, what you don't know under that, and accept that there are items that you need to find out or be trained on before you undertake a clinical trial. Appropriate trial design is key as well. To gather the data efficiently and ethically is key to enable you to deliver the trial on time and within the principles of good clinical practice. I think we heard yesterday from Professor Derek Stewart very much about the voice of the patient as well.
Yeah.
So again, designing a clinical trial needs to recognise the input of trial participants or patients or whoever is going to be participating. Does the trial match their schedule? Does it address the needs of that patient population? Is the schedule going to encourage retention into a clinical trial? Because again, you don't want to design a clinical trial only to have your patients drop out because it's a 5-year follow-up and they have to come into hospital every single month, and you are going to lose your patients just due to logistics. As well, you need to understand the importance of a clinical trial protocol. Is effectively the Bible that you work with when you are designing a clinical trial. Designing a protocol takes an engaged clinical team and all the other team members as well, so that the protocol will match the rest of the study documentation, will match the intent of the study design. There are data collection tools we call case report forms. It's important that the protocol would reflect what is gathered on the case report form, and in the interest of GDPR wouldn't gather more than you're ethically allowed to do and would answer the research question. Importantly, you need to have appropriate funding. That's the principle of GCP again. So it's important to recognise that there are lines of funding that you need to include as well. And finding that funding, of course, is not always an easy job. In the clinical research facility, we support a lot of grant applications. Some PIs we work with are surprised when we inject lines of budget lines for specific roles, but it is important for delivery of a safe clinical trial that will answer the research question at hand.
Thank you very much, Aideen. There's so much going on. There's so much collaboration. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Aideen, Dave, Leo and Steven, thank you all very, very much.